Y'all remember when people were saying Inter Miami losing to Paris Saint-Germain 4-0 was proof MLS is a terrible league. It's a retirement home and all of these things. And now, here's the thing. Look at this. Paris Saint-Germain just beat Real Madrid 4-0. And here's the thing about this. It was just as bad and just as convincing of a victory by Paris Saint-Germain against Real Madrid as it was against Inter Miami. And it actually took them less time against Real Madrid to get a score that they just weren't coming back from. They were up 3-0 in less than 30 minutes. Then they took their foot off the gas and they just saw out the game. Real Madrid was actually lucky that the referee didn't give stoppage time at the end of the second half because it could have easily been 5-0. But why am I talking about this? Well, it's quite simple actually. Anti-MLSers look for any possible evidence to say the MLS is garbage, it's a retirement league, and all of the possible negativities. They'll refuse to even acknowledge the positives. For example, even in this Club World Cup, Inter Miami getting a win against FC Porto, a draw against the best African team, Al Ahly, and a draw against Palmeiras, which is probably the most consistent Brazilian team of the past 4 years. Then, of course, they lose to Paris Saint-Germain. That's proof MLS is garbage. Guys, your standards for MLS are way too high for a league that you think is garbage. It can't be either MLS beats the very, very best teams in the world or it's garbage. There has to be somewhere in between. And here's the thing. That wasn't proof Inter Miami is bad at all because let's look at a few other results. Of course, the most recent one, Real Madrid 4-0. Atletico Madrid, the other Madrid team, 4-0. La Liga is not doing very well against Paris Saint-Germain. And of course, the Champions League final, Internazionale loses 5-0, and probably one of the most convincing Champions League final performances of all time to this Paris Saint-Germain team. Facts are, is this Paris Saint-Germain team is just special. Most teams playing against them, unless your name is Botafogo, you're going to lose. There's just nothing else to it. The question is, how much? By how much are you going to lose? Are you going to be able to keep it close like Bayern, or are you going to lose? But then that brings us to something else. This result all of a sudden looks a lot better. Seattle Sounders holding Paris Saint-Germain only to 2-0 in a game. And this is a game that Paris Saint-Germain needed to get a result to make sure they were going to the next round because they lost that game to Botafogo. So, I mean, yeah, Seattle Sounders lost, but it's a lot more respectable than what you guys were wanting to say. So what's the point of this video? The point is that MLS is currently not an elite league, but it's severely underrated, and it is one of the best leagues outside of Europe right now. I would say that it is anywhere from the second to fourth best league outside of Europe. Brazil is the best league outside of Europe. That's not even debatable in my opinion, but the next three are MLS, Mexico, and Argentina. And you can debate whichever order you want them in, and I wouldn't disagree entirely. I think MLS is slightly better, but you could make an argument otherwise. Now, compared to Europe, the top 5 leagues in Europe are clearly better than MLS. But after those top 5 leagues, it gets much more debatable. And most European leagues really only have 3 to 4 very, very, very good teams, and then they have a lot of mediocrity or even bad teams, which is something MLS is very different. MLS is pretty top to bottom solid. And one thing that a lot of you don't realize, the MLS teams that were in the Club World Cup were not the current best MLS teams. The best MLS teams on form right now are probably Nashville SC, Vancouver Whitecaps, and San Diego FC. So we're not even sending our best teams. But in a few years, MLS will have some of the best teams, and eventually they're going to win the Club World Cup as well.